Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to the Be That Healing Girl podcast. And today on this episode, we're going to talk about feeling emotionally distant in your relationship. And I see this a lot in my community, so just take a listen if this is you. So maybe you're in a cycle if you're dating and you keep attracting quote unquote unavailable, emotionally unavailable men. Maybe they are actually physically unavailable. That can happen too. That would happen for me. Or maybe you are feeling like they just can't open up to you, or they have a hard time opening up to you, or maybe you perceive it as, I'm just thinking of a client that is in this position where things are going okay, but he's not opening up as much as she would want, and they haven't said I love you. So those can be all kinds of examples of feeling that distance in a relationship. And this episode is going to be like, what is really going on with that, or what could be going on with that. So save it, send it, download it. This episode is going to be really good. All right. So if you're new here, my name is Claire and I'm a relationship coach, and I love serving girlies who are high performing, maybe a little perfectionist, maybe a little bit of type A, and you're really good at getting shit done. You're a high performer. Okay, hands down. And at the same time that you are slaying in your career, your business, your academics, you are sucking at your relationships. And what I mean by suck is you tend to feel really anxious. You overthink every interaction. You are in your head doing the mental gymnastics and just worrying around, wow, do they even like me, when they have shown you that they are into you? And I'm not laughing at you. I'm just like laughing because I just know these so well. One of the things that I love about being a relationship coach and helping you is that I have been there. I have been there front, down, side to sides. I walked it up and back. I get it. So if that is the type of person you are, then this episode is for you. And speaking of podcast, hello, the reviews, guys, gals, people, I am so blown away. Seriously, I think we've blown my expectations around how many reviews I can get. And if this episode or any of the podcasts is resonating, seriously, hitting the 5-star it helps me keep going. Honestly, it's just part of being an entrepreneur. But I will tell you that whenever I go in and check and there's like one more star, I see you, I can feel it, and it just helps me to keep going and help give to you. So hit that 5-star. So let's dive in. And I just want to talk a little bit from a place of just complete understanding when you feel that somebody is being emotionally distant. And just going to give you some insight around my own experience with this. But I was dating a person, a guy, and for all accounts, at that chapter of my life, I really felt like he was my person. And I've gone through different relationships where I literally felt that they were my person. And honestly, if we had gotten married or gone all the way, I'm really a person around abundance, that we have multiple opportunities in life. We don't miss out. So with this particular chapter, with this particular person, we were together for maybe 2.5 years. We dated right before I made a big transition across country. And he was really my best friend, and we had so much in common. And when I look at when things really started to fall apart, and there were multiple factors to this, but what I would have said in the past and not too long ago, that he was quote unquote emotionally unavailable. And that kind of manifested, like one of the big reasons why we broke up was because he had major financial trouble that he did not disclose to me. And after we broke up and finding out where he was at financially I don't know why. Well, I do know why, and I'll just talk it through with you. But I was a little hurt, kind of surprised, but not surprised, and just shocked, and honestly a little upset. Like, why didn't he tell me? Hindsight made me see, well, if he had just shared it with me, then I would have maybe been able to help. Like, I would have been able to just at least be with him in the stress of that. Like, I just really, I'm just not proud of myself. This was years ago, but I almost took it personal that he didn't feel safe with me to disclose, and he tried to hide it from me, and he wasn't upfront. And at that moment in time, I would definitely say that I took it personal. And looking back at what I felt was going wrong, I really had this perception that he didn't want to open up. He didn't want to tell me that he was emotionally unavailable and didn't want to be vulnerable with me to tell me what was going on. And so I really kind of use that as my sword of feeling really justified in the breakup. Like, see, he wasn't available for me, and this is what happens, and see, like, I could have helped, but I felt I could feel myself. And looking back, I was on this kind of path of self-righteousness. I felt like, yeah, see, he wasn't vulnerable. Now, I I hope all of you know that one of the pieces here of being in my world is that I do not believe in perfection. So I'm going to like lay it all out for you because that's just what we do here. Imperfection is part of the brand. And if you're looking for perfection, this is not the place for you. Also, if you didn't know, I told this to one of my clients and she's like, "What? I do not edit this podcast. This is intentional that I do one take and I just blat it all out, and I'm okay with that because one of the things I know can hold you back if you're watching or listening to this podcast, perfection will hold you back. So I want to show you and just through osmosis, I hope you learn that perfection's so 2020. We're letting that go. So just some little insight on that. So one of the things that I've really learned about, okay, well, I feel emotionally distant. So at that point, when we'd broken up, I found out about his financial trouble. I felt like it distant from him. I felt like, who was this person, right? And I will call myself out that at that time, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was totally, absolutely unavailable to my own emotions. And if I could go back into time and talk to Claire at that point in time, I would have denied that vehemently. I would have gone down fighting, saying, "What are you talking about? I totally am available." No, sister, Claire in the past, you were not. And I'll share even more insight because at the time, part of the reason why we were best friends and close that I used to, many moons ago, used to be, I wouldn't say a hotshot, but I was really into fitness and personal training and being a strength coach. Just to show you how into it I was. And actually, I am going to flex. This is actually pretty big for me. I was the only head female strength and conditioning coach for Denver Public Schools for about 5 years. I had been featured in magazines as a model and a writer. So I had done a lot. And I also, close to that time, I was still kind of competing in fitness. I used to be a bikini competitor. So and this is directly related to my emotional availability because I was probably not at my sickest with trigger warning. I should have said this before, but if talking about food or thoughts about food is activating, this is the time to stop the podcast and move on. All right. So I'm going to just give you some time. If that's something that can be activating for you, please turn off the podcast. Anyway, moving forward. So at that time, when I was competing, I would just say that it was an organized way to mask an eating disorder where I was working out multiple times a week. I was doing cardio. I mean, just obsessive. It was not good. It was not healthy. And I'm a relationship coach, and I really believe we're in relationship with everything, y'all. We're in relationship to people. Obviously, we're in friendships. We're in family relationships. We are in work relationships. Whether you're in corporate and you manage or run a team, or you're an entrepreneur and you manage clients, or you're an academic and you're managing relationships with your peers to get your doctorate, whatever, right? We are in relationship. That's the truth. We're in relationship with money, how we relate to money, how we respect it. So at that point, my relationship with my body was horrible. Absolutely horrible. I was not listening to it. I was not respecting it. It was trying to communicate with me and I was not listening. And so I can see just in that realm of the point in time, that piece of my life, I was not in good relationship with myself. And I'll just say this with love, so much love. And I just really understand if you're in this place, your relationship with yourself is directly related to how you relate with other people. So I was in this phase of I was not in good relationship with my body. I was also not in good relationship with money. I think at that time, yeah, I was getting featured in magazines and I was winning. I was winning multiple competitions. I was competing at the national level. I was also getting all these achievements, but financially I was struggling, y'all. So it was showing up in all areas. And then I am in a relationship with a quote unquote emotionally unavailable person when in reality, my relationship with food and my body, my relationship with money, my relationship with just everything, there was a common denominator. Hint, hint. It was me. And so, as much as, yes, he was responsible for his own finances and that's his to carry, what I didn't realize, and it's taken me a long time to look at, but I was also not available in that relationship, straight up. I was not available. I was emotionally checked out. And we're still amicable and we check in occasionally, and he's doing amazing things in the world, as am I. And I can see and take full responsibility for how I was showing up. And here's the thing, when we are deep into self-abandonment, and self-abandonment is something that I see kind of across the board with all my clients that I serve, that when we are in denial of our own thoughts, of our own emotions, of our own needs and feelings, when we self-abandon, a lot of times we expect the other person, instead of taking that responsibility, we expect that other person to fill me up. And the problem with that is that if your own well is empty, it doesn't matter how many buckets of love they bring in, your well is empty. So when we are in full self-abandonment, when we are not acknowledging our own thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and we're expecting other people to fill us up, it just, as you can see, it's just not a good recipe for a healthy relationship. So when I look back on, wow, I feel emotionally distant, and this is the question that you want to ask yourself, how emotionally connected am I to myself? And be radically honest with yourself. Radically honest. How connected am I to my own thoughts? How connected am I to my own emotional needs? How connected am I to my own feelings? And just a little hint inside of that, if you, for example, are not allowing yourself to cry, that was big for me. So big. I just did not believe in crying. Crying was for just, I don't even say the word, that it's just so hurtful and harmful. Crying was not something that I did. Crying was for people who are weak. Crying was for people who didn't have their crap together, all those things. And that, looking back, was a huge problem. Huge problem. And so now I look back at my healing journey, and the big joke between me and my husband is I'm a crier. I'm a crier now. I love it. I love crying. It's so good. Yes to the tears. He'll come home and I'll be scrolling through TikTok and I'm like, look at this dog. This child is singing to the dog on its last day, and I'm just crying. He's like, why do you do this? I'm like, it's just so good. It's crying. But that is just a totally different energy and way of operating than what I was used to. So get real with yourself. Ask yourself, okay, before you point the finger and say they're being emotionally unavailable, I really want you to take a good hard look at yourself. And this is usually the line in the sand when I talk to my community or I put posts out there on social media. Like, if you are in the mode of you want to blame other people, you know what? You do you. That's fine. But if you really want to heal, which is what my whole experience when we are together, whether you're listening to the podcast or on social, you will only be able to really change when you take radical self-responsibility, when you take ownership. So Take ownership. Ask yourself, are you willing to look at your own emotional availability to yourself so that you can allow the love in? Because when we are not emotionally available to ourselves, the love can't get in. It's like trying to knock on the door, and because we're not even available to ourselves, we can't even let it in. All right. So that's the episode for today, and super exciting news that the Healing Girl Gang, I believe at this point, because I'm going with the flow, that doors are open for waitlist. And one of the things that we're covering in the Healing Girl Gang, which there's a lot more details, I'll put it in the show notes, but one of the very first trainings is on overthinking and overanalyzing. In fact, it's so big, it's a 2-part series. So yeah, check out details. I'll put them in the show notes. I can't wait to see you in the gang, and I love you. Mwah!